This is L. Pepper reading Flag of Bones, Chapter 1, Part 2. Hergir was silent, and in the silence everyone could hear the sound of shattered metal. One of the men-at-arms had snuck up to attack Hergir from behind, but the dragon-scale armor he wore was stronger than steel could ever be, and the blade shattered on contact. Hergir turned, sword raised to strike the man down, and his servant spoke only 3 words. "Lord, spare him." Hergir lowered his sword. The man who had fallen to his knees looked up at him. He lowered Cruce till the flat of the blade rested on top of the man's head. "Come." The scratchy, broken word was almost a whisper, and yet everyone heard it. The man rose, picked up the blade of the fallen soldier, and placed himself between the boy and the rest of the men-at-arms. His eyes were glassy and unfocused. "Men of the Empire, you will not stir from your place until the dragon wind is out of bowshot. Any man who does, dies." Hergir sheathed Cruce and turned to me. "Captain Chen." "Aye, Lord Steward." I tried to quell my shaking. "I'm sorry." He placed a gauntleted hand against my forehead, and instantly there was heat. I felt him rifling through my memories, and the knowledge of what he was shifted out of my reach again. He lifted his hand, and the sensation of fire ceased. "Do not forget, Jalen. This is twice now I have saved you from the noose. Have care, for you know as well as I that there is no third salvation." His voice sounded nearly human again. "I will come to you, or I will send someone in my place, and you will take them wherever they want to go, even if it were the end of the world. You would go with a merry will. This is the payment for your life. I pray that we both go to our graves remembered before that comes to pass, but I must have your word on this, or I will pay you out where you stand." "Aye, you have it. Remember this word." His voice was scratchy, and I began to understand that the broken voice was the one with which he wielded the magicka. "Remember." "I must take my leave then, Lord Hergir." He placed a hand on my shoulder, preventing me from kneeling. "I am not a man worthy of your service. The only honor I will take is that you remember your word next time we meet. Do not announce yourself under the name of Shen, at least not in the earshot of the lawless." With that, I turned and headed back for the wind. I'd gotten no more than a few steps when I felt a tug on the end of my sash. "Lord Captain," the voice was that of the young officer who'd been in charge of making sure I stayed at the gallows. "I ask the protection of Jangir." "What do you ask in the name of the Lord of the Seas?" "Safe passage to deep water." "Barring that, at least not to die here as unremembered. When you leave, my life will be forfeit to the Emperor. I am bound to serve. Having failed that, I will be laid low and left without honors." "Why are you so bound?" "I was pledged in service to the ill wind to pay a debt due another. I have nothing of my own, so the only payment I have left for this treason is blood. If you come with me, you will never return. If I return, banners advanced against me, Lord Captain." Then come, and do not return. In the name of Jangir you are granted safe passage." I made to step past him and stopped. I turned to speak one more time. "Jangir have mercy on you if you betray me or my boards, for I know none." I quickly regained my ship, but it was full dark by the time the lines and sails were untied and made ready and set to allow us to leave the cove. And in the time between, not a single man of the Empire moved. And so it was, as I sailed away, that was the last I saw of the gallows. The whole scene still as statues as I sailed into the darkness. I didn't know the chain of events that started that night. It'd be 20 years before I began to understand what was going on. And during those years, not willing to risk the noose a third time, I flew the freehold flag, the blue waves of the island nations. Only those who knew me as close friends ever heard the name of Shen. To all others, I was Lishan, captain of the free boards, Dragonwind. That was chapter 1 of Flag of Bones, The Shallows. Read by the author, L. Pepper.